There's this threat stalking pretty much every small business out there. It doesn't make big headlines, and it has nothing to do with having a bad product. It's a silent killer, one that can take down even the most successful-looking companies from the inside out. Let's really look at just how big this problem is. So get this. This is the number that should really stop every founder in their tracks. A staggering 82%. 82% of small businesses that fail because of poor cash flow management. Not because they weren't profitable, not because they didn't have customers, but because the cash, it just literally ran out. And that's the part that just doesn't make sense at first glance, right? I mean, it seems totally counterintuitive. How can a business with soaring sales and what look like healthy profit margins just suddenly go bankrupt? Well, this is the central paradox we really need to wrap our heads around.
It all comes down to a really fundamental misunderstanding, a trap that's so common it actually has its own name, the profitability paradox.
So what are we actually talking about here? Well, the profitability paradox is that exact scenario where a company's income statement, the P&L, it shows a healthy profit, but the business physically runs out of cash to pay its bills. We're talking rent, payroll, suppliers, the essentials. It's profitable on paper, but completely insolvent in reality. And this just lays out the core difference perfectly. See, profit, that's an accounting metric. It's backward-looking. It tells you what you earned in the past. But cash flow, that is the forward-looking lifeblood of your business. It's the actual oxygen you need to operate day to day. Think about it. You can survive a few months without profit, sure. But you can't survive more than a few days without cash.
Okay, but how does this actually happen? Like, in the real world, what are the specific missteps that lead a company into this kind of catastrophic failure? Let's go ahead and dissect the anatomy of a full-blown cash crash.
When you dig into it, you see the same 5 culprits pop up again and again. First up, delayed receivables. That's letting your clients pay you way too slowly. Second, premature scaling, growing way too fast before your finances can actually support it. And then, of course, you've got poor forecasting, inventory mismanagement, and finally, high overhead. Every single one of these is like a leak in your financial boat. This quote just hits the nail on the head. It really highlights the immediate danger of those delayed receivables. I mean, when you give a client 60 or 90 days to pay an invoice, you are effectively giving them an interest-free loan. That $50,000 you're owed looks great on your books, but it absolutely cannot pay your employees this Friday.
Oh, and this is such a classic trap. A founder sees these super optimistic sales projections, and what do? They immediately commit to new hires, a bigger marketing budget, maybe more inventory. They're spending cash they don't actually have yet, all based on revenue that hasn't landed. So when those sales lag, which they often do, there's no buffer, and that's when the cash crunch begins.
And this is what that mistake looks like in practice. You go and you triple your marketing spend, fully expecting to triple your results. But it almost never works that way, does it? See, scaling without proven cash-positive unit economics just means you burn through your cash reserves 3 times faster, all without getting that proportional return. It is literally like pouring gasoline on a fire you cannot control.
Okay, so that's all pretty scary, right? But here's the good news. All of this is preventable. So let's pivot from the problems to the solution. Let's talk about a clear, actionable playbook for building real financial resilience.
The path to mastering your cash flow really involves 5 key actions. Number 1, forecast ruthlessly. 2, chase down those payments relentlessly. 3, you've got to pace your growth to the cash you actually have in the bank. 4, build what we'll call a war chest. And number 5, spend on actuals, not on those hopeful projections.
Let's zoom in on that first one, forecasting. We are not talking about some plan you make once a year. No way. We are talking about a rolling 13-week. That's a 90-day cash flow forecast. This is your early warning system. It lets you see potential shortfalls months in advance so you can react before it becomes a crisis. And this next one, look, this is absolutely non-negotiable. You need a cash reserve, a war chest. The recommendation is to set aside enough cash to cover 2 to 3 months of all your essential expenses. And this isn't your main operating account. It's a totally separate fund just to handle emergencies, a client defaulting, a market downturn, any black swan event that comes out of nowhere.
Okay, let's bring it all together now. If cash flow is really the oxygen for your business,
then the ultimate question you have to ask yourself is a really simple one. Is your business actually breathing?
You know, a quote from one of the sources we looked at just summed up this whole lesson perfectly. It is so easy to get seduced by big revenue numbers, that's the vanity part. But survival and true lasting success, it all depends on mastering the sanity of cash timing. The focus absolutely has to shift from the appearance of success to the reality of liquidity. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to really reflect on. Take a hard, honest look at your own operations. Are you chasing the ego boost of a high revenue number, or are you building a truly resilient business on the solid foundation of cash flow sanity? Because the answer to that question, well, that could be the difference between failure and lasting success.